Hello, everybody. How's it going? Rob Tomlinson, DishNet34 here, welcoming you to today's episode of This Week in Perfect Team, episode number 221, Immortal Seasons, set number 3. What a day we have in store for you. We have so many new cards today to talk about. We have 21 new cards that we are dropping today as part of Immortal Seasons, and we're talking about all of them today. So we got a lot of stuff to get through here today. So guys, I hope you're having a great week so far. I know I have. I got all my stuff done for work. There's been some great news in the video gaming world in the last week or so. It's been fantastic. So I'm kind of in a good mood today. I'm kind of in a good mood today. So let's go ahead and get things started today. And we're going to start by talking about one of the most anticipated things coming up this week. Excuse me, I just literally finished lunch just a little bit ago. And that would be the first Perfect Team Master Series. Yes, once again, the Perfect Team Master Series coming up this Saturday. I literally just copied and pasted, that's why it says next Saturday, but it's actually this Saturday, in 2 days, 48 hours from now, from the live broadcast at least. We will begin the Perfect Team Master Series Saturday, September 23rd, beginning at noon Eastern. And as always, the top 64 teams, based on points accumulated by participants in the first 5 PTCS tournaments, qualify for this tournament. And they're already open, ready to view for those who are participating in those 2 Perfect Team Master Series tournaments, one for traditional tournaments and one for perfect drafts. And the winners, once again, of each Perfect Team Master Series will move on to the Perfect Team World Championship, which is coming up fairly soon as well. We'll have some more details on that within the next few weeks, where they will meet the top 2 performers from Perfect League based on the number of Perfect League championships as of Sunday, September 24th. And there's 4 teams from Perfect League, that are in the running right now. You have guys like the Midgar Materia, you have the Southside Hitmen, you have the Somerset Dolphins, you also have the Brooklyn Cyclones. So there's a few teams that could make it just based off of their Perfect League records alone. They each have 2 championships each. We'll see who will be able to make it. And that's going to be a bracketed tournament. So that'll be fun. The winner will emerge as the Perfect Team World Champion. Now, everyone who qualifies for the Perfect Team Master Series will receive a prize, with players getting cards below their finish as well, with a huge card at stake is the pursuit of Pedro Martinez, that beautiful 100 overall PTMS exclusive. The tiebreaker for Perfect League is Perfect League wins. So regular season wins in Perfect League is the first tiebreaker. So pretty cool stuff right there. Once again, the formats, all tournaments will have a 2,000 run environment with a designated hitter and will take place at Fenway Park. Traditional tournament Perfect Team Master Series is going to be a gold floor with a 22.45 cap, a best of 7 series, best of 7 series throughout the tournament. Meanwhile, for the Perfect Draft PTMS, you have a gold to perfect historical draft with limited editions available to be drafted, with 3 perfects each for the first 3 rounds, and so on and so forth. There's a little breakdown of how, excuse me, there we go. I think I've got my throat cleared now. And there's a lot of, the draft breakdown right there. And once again, the rewards are thus: you have Tommy Davis for just making it to the tournament. That's pretty cool. Then you got Frank Killen if you finish in 17th through 32nd place. Plus, you get the Tommy Davis as well. Goes so on and so forth. Andres Galarraga for 9th through 16th. David Justice for 5th through 8th. Gabby Hartnett for 3rd and 4th. Phil Rizzuto for second, and Pedro Martinez for first place. So some pretty cool stuff right there. That's going to all go down on Saturday. We will have the finals of each Perfect Team Master Series tournament live broadcasted on our Twitch channel. Stay tuned for that this Saturday. Alrighty, so once again, all of this, I do a lot of stats with these slides. Y'all know that. And y'all know how much I love Stathead Baseball, powered by Baseball Reference at this. I've said it like multiple times. I feel like I've said this for like the past, 5, 6, 7 months or something like that. And you can get in on why. And no, if you want to see how much I love Stathead Baseball, you can use code 23OOTP25 for $25 off an annual baseball or all sport subscription. It's not just for baseball, it's for hockey, it's for football, it's for basketball. So, if you like baseball, but you also like some other sports, you can use it for that as well. One of the most powerful stat lookup services that are out there on the internet right now. It's pretty darn cool. Absolutely recommend it. And you can save $25 off a subscription. That's pretty darn cool right there. That is pretty darn cool right there. Save $25 off. Use code 23OTP25 at checkout for $25 off an annual baseball or all sport subscription. This offer expires December 31st, 2023. That's a little over 3 months from now. So what are y'all waiting for? Get in on this deal today. Pretty cool stuff. All right, let's get to the meat and potatoes of today. Immortal Seasons set number 3. Yes, indeed, our Immortal Seasons program continuing with 3 packable cards for each era. That's pretty darn cool right there. So, a little bit of a refresher as to what the Immortal Seasons program is. It is a program with packable cards and missions that revolves around some notable seasons from different eras of baseball history. We have 7 different eras. You have Dead Ball. You have Rebirth. You have the Golden Era. You have the Boom Era. You have the Defensive Era. You have the Power Era. And you have the Modern Era. And each set will introduce cards from all the different eras. And your main objections is to pretty much, collecting cards by era, collecting hitters, collecting pitchers, and collecting the toppers for an ultimate topper card coming up right after we release set 4, I believe. So, as always, I have to show off the beautiful flowchart that I've created, just to kind of show you how things kind of work. You got all the different tracks there. You got set 1, set 2, plus the set 1, 2 topper. We're kind of at the set 3 part of this flowchart right here. So you got set 3, set 4 coming up. And then you'll have a set 3 and 4 topper coming up fairly soon as well. Not sure how soon we're talking, but it will be coming soon. And then once we got those toppers, the era toppers are coming. And obviously, if you collect a lot of the program hitters from sets 1 through 4, you get a major hitter topper. If you collect a lot of the program pitchers from sets 1 through 4, you get a major pitcher topper. And if you collect enough toppers between sets 1 and 4, you get a major topper for the whole thing. Pretty darn cool stuff right there. So let's go ahead and get started with taking a look at some of these cards. And we're going to start. Now, we've done, modern era first with the last couple of sets. But you know what? For sets 3 and 4, we're going to flip it around a little bit. And we're going to start with the Dead Ball era first today. So we're going to go Dead Ball, then Rebirth, then Boom era, and then so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and get started with the Dead Ball era. And where else would we start as a Detroit Tigers fan than the Detroit Tigers? And we take you to the 1914 Detroit Tigers, and we go to one of their very special outfielders that they had during their time. And ladies and gentlemen, we bring to you 98 overall right fielder from the 1914 Detroit Tigers, Sam Crawford. Wahoo, Sam Crawford. 101 BABIP, 70 power, 98 avoid K, 117 contact, 120 gap, and 75 on the eye. Not a whole lot of big splits here. He is a little bit better against righties than he is against lefties, but it's not bad against either side. Against righties, he's got 102 BABIP, 71 power, 98 avoid K, 118 contact, 122 gap, and 76 on the eye. Defensively, he's a pretty good defender out in right field. He's got 91 range, 104 error, 81 on the arm. Pretty decent speed-wise, 74 speed, 77 stealing, 83 base running. Isn't too terrible. He is a pretty good sack bunter, though. 95 sack bunt, 94 on the bunt for hit. Now, 1914 was one of Sam Crawford's best overall seasons. He finished with a 314 average, 388 on base, 483 slugging, 8 homers, 104 RBI, and 26 triples. And those 26 triples still tied for the most triples in a single season in American League history. So hence the high gap power on this guy right here. He finished second in the AL MVP vote. He led the American League in RBI and obviously led Major League Baseball in triples. And he had some very solid seasons in his career. I mean, 1911 was another great year for him. He hit 378 that year with 115 RBI. But this was definitely one of his best overall seasons. I mean, this was his highest offensive wins above replacement season according to Baseball Reference with a 6.7. And heck, it was his best overall wins above replacement season. According to Baseball Reference, he had 6.3 overall in that category. And his BABIP that year was a pretty hefty 322. So he had a little bit of BABIP luck here as well. But 1914, the year where he tied the single season record for triples, 26 of them. And that record has stood for quite a long time. Sam Crawford, 1914 Detroit Tiger, is it? Perfect team, 24. Alrighty, let's keep on going here in the dead ball era. And home runs were not exactly, in vogue in the dead ball era. I mean, there's a reason they call it the dead ball era. That ball was dead. That thing did not fly too far. But this next guy is probably considered, one of the better home run hitters of the dead ball era. In fact, it's literally in his name. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1912 Philadelphia Athletics, it is 100 overall third baseman Frank Home Run Baker. 96 BABIP, 90 power, 96 avoid K, 119 contact, 104 gap, and 75 on the eye. Has some very interesting splits on him here. He's got a lot more BABIP against righties than he does against lefties, but he's got a little bit more power against lefties as a left-handed hitter. And obviously he's got some higher avoid K against righties than he does against lefties. Better contact overall. Better gap power by about 9 points, but only about 3 points better in eye against righties. So you're getting a little bit more power against lefties, but you're getting a better overall player against righties here. Pretty interesting stuff here. He has some very good speed, 94 speed, 96 stealing, 92 on the base running. Pretty good sack bunt abilities as well, 97 on the sack bunt, 93 on the bunt for hit. And he's kind of decent defensively as well over at third base. He's not going to kill you out there, but he's not exactly, on the elite end either in terms of defense. 88 range, 85 error, 91 arm, and 88 on the turn double play. That's very solid right there for Home Run Baker. 1912 was probably one of his best years. Definitely one of his best years of his career. He led all major leagues. All major leagues in RBI with 130 of them. Plus, this was the second straight year that he had double-digit homers, which was barely a thing. Like we mentioned earlier, in the dead ball era. This is the second of 4 years in a row that he tied or led in home runs in the American League. I believe this particular year in 1912 in the American League, he actually tied for the home run lead with some fella named Tris Speaker. So that's some pretty good company that Home Run Baker kept during the 1912 season. He finished third in the American League in wins above replacement that year with a 9.3, and he also had a career high in stolen bases. He had 40 stolen bases this year, so he had a little pop, had a little speed on him. That's pretty darn good. Overall, he hit 347, 404, 541 on the slash line, 10 homers, 130 RBI, and a 174 OPS. Pretty awesome stats here for Frank Baker. This is kind of a solid third baseman here. A little bit of an all-around kind of guy. Good defender, good base runner, good hitter. This should be a fun card for a lot of people. Frank Baker from the 1912 Philadelphia A's is it. Perfect Team 24. Alrighty, let's keep on going. And Frank Baker, Home Run Baker, is a pretty darn good hitter. All right? I think we can all recognize that. But, let's go back about 3 decades or so. Let's go back to like the early days of baseball. And there were some really great hitters from like the 1880s that really defined the game in that era. Now, obviously, it was a little bit of a different game back then, but this guy still, to this day, he's actually he has the second highest single season batting average in Major League history. And that goes all the way back to the 1880s. 1870s or so. This guy, one of the best pure hitters, if not the best pure hitter of the 1880s. And I bet our fans up in the Great White North will be very happy with this card. Ladies and gentlemen, from 1887, it is 100 overall left fielder Tip O'Neill. Tip O'Neill, look at this card right here. 125 BABIP, 109 power, 106 avoid K, 154 contact, 120 gap, and 83 on the eye. And let me tell you, folks, there are some big numbers here. I mean, I have never seen a contact rating go that high in my entire life. Like, good Lord have mercy. I mean, it's 125 BABIP against both sides. You're getting some major home run power against either side here. Not a lot of he's got a lot of avoid K on either side. He's got a contact rating up into the 150. Like, what? He's got a contact rating in the 150. Goodness gracious. 125 gap power against lefties, 118 gap against righties. You got 84 I against lefties, 82 I against righties. Holy cats. I'm just flabbergasted by these numbers. Goodness gracious. But you know what? Given how good Tip O'Neill was in the 1887 season for, who did he play for? The St. Louis Browns of the American Association. Now, you can say a lot of things about the American Association. But Tip O'Neill, this is probably one of the best hitting seasons in Major League history. And I know it was the 1880s. But take a look at these stats here. He hit .435 with a .490 on base percentage, .691 slugging, 14 homers. And I know we just talked about Home Run Baker and how, rare home runs were compared to today. But 14 homers, that's a ton for the 1880s. Had 123 RBI as well, a .213 OPS plus, 357 total bases. He had 52 doubles, 19 triples to go along with it, scored 167 runs. He led all majors in hits, in runs, in doubles. Well, not really in doubles. Well, he did lead in doubles. He didn't lead in triples. He led the American Association in triples, led the association in homers, led it in RBI, but he led in all 3 slash line parts as well. I mean, how could you not when you hit .435? And he became the second person ever in the 1887 season to hit for the Triple Crown. And that .435 average, still the second highest in Major League history, right behind some guy named Hugh Duffy. Pretty cool stuff right here. Now, Tip O'Neill, not the greatest defender out there. On left field, he's got 76 range, 76 error, 70 arm. So it's not going to kill you out there, but he's definitely not the best defender that's out there for left field. Speed, stealing, and base running, they're not bad. 68 speed, 79 stealing, 83 on base running. And sack bunt rating, not exactly great. 49 sack bunt, 35 on the bunt for hit. So there you go. Tip O'Neill from 1887 is in Perfect Team 24. All right, so some very fun cards right off rip. Let's go ahead and go to the Rebirth era now for the next 3 cards. And we're going to start off with a guy who had a very, very illustrious season in the 1930 season. Some might say an immortal season, which is the exact reason why we are here today. But this guy set a major league record that has not been broken since. During the 1930 season, ladies and gentlemen, we take you to the 1930 Chicago Cubs for 91 overall, Hack Wilson. Hack Wilson, 77 BABIP, 149 power, 52 avoid K, 107 contact, 80 gap power, and 115 on the eye. Look at these power numbers right here. 146 power against lefties as a right-handed hitter, 150 power against righties. He's actually a little bit better against right-handed pitching as a right-handed batter than he is against lefties. Goodness gracious. You look at righties, he's got 78 BABIP, 150 power, 52 avoid K, 107 contact, 82 gap power, 117 on the eye. Meanwhile, against lefties, you got 73 BABIP, 146 power, 54 avoid K, 104 contact, 74 gap, 108 on the eye. He can play all 3 outfield positions. All 3 outfield positions. He can play left. He can play center. He can play right. I know a lot of times with these Hack Wilson cards, it's just center field only. But he has left field eligibility. He has right field eligibility. 75 range, 65 error, 55 arm. This is definitely a left field type of card, if you ask me. He can train up in left, he can train up in right, and if you find him in a perfect draft or in a tournament, he can play fully at all 3 positions. That's huge for a card like Hack Wilson. Very huge for a guy like Hack Wilson. Now, he's not the fastest guy in the world either. 33 speed, 32 stealing, 67 base running. Not great. 80 sack bunt, 60 on the bunt for hit. It's fine. But Hack Wilson is definitely going to strike out quite a bit. And I think that's maybe where you're going to get a little hesitancy from some players. But there's going to be a lot of home runs that are going to be coming with Hack Wilson here. And he really did so in the 1930 season. 356, 454, 723, 56 homers during the season, 191 RBI. 191. That is still the single season MLB record for RBI. Pretty cool stuff right there. Led major leagues in home runs, RBIs, and strikeouts. He had 84 strikeouts, which doesn't seem like that big of a number today, but in those days, a lot of people, didn't really strike out too well. Didn't strike out too much, actually. So yeah, 84 strikeouts was a lot back in those days. He actually led the league in strikeouts 5 times during his career. This was the 4th of those 5 years. But he also led the National League in walks that year with 105. So he can at least get on base a little bit when he's not striking out. This is a big kind of 3 true outcomes player who also has a little bit of contact on him. So pretty cool stuff there. Led Major League in homers, RBIs, and strikeouts. We talked about the walks, talked about the OPS plus. And the 56 home runs remained a National League record until the great home run chase of 1998 between Sosa and McGwire. So there you go. Hack Wilson from the 1930 Chicago Cubs is it. Perfect team. 24. All right, some fun stuff there. Now, our next card. Not exactly a home run hitter, per se. But this guy was so good at getting bat to ball, with a little bit of pop here and there, obviously. He was so good at making contact with the ball that he was known, that he was pretty much called a machine back in the day for how well he did. In fact, a lot of people today call him the Mechanical Man. And ladies and gentlemen, that man is from the 1937 Detroit Tigers. It is 100 overall, Charlie Gehringer. Charlie Gehringer, 98 BABIP, 80 power, 100 avoid K, 119 contact, 104 gap power, and 105 on the eye. Now, this guy's a little bit splitty. Here. A lot better against righties than he is against lefties as a left-handed hitter. 98 BABIP, 85 power, 104 avoid K, 122 contact, 109 gap, and 100 on the eye against righties. Now against lefties, it's not exactly that great. 97 BABIP, 67 power, 87 avoid K, 108 contact, 89 gap, 90 eye. So this is more so maybe a platoon option over at second base. Maybe a guy that, maybe if you don't have like a Joe Morgan, this guy could definitely be a guy to use over at second base, maybe against right-handed pitching, I should say. Defensively, he's not bad for a second baseman. 85 range, 92 error, 66 arm, 86 on the turn double play, which isn't bad for a second baseman here. Speed stealing and base running, pretty decent. 74 speed, 78 stealing, 76 on the base running. Also pretty good at bunting. 104 on the sack bunt, 100 on the bunt for hit. Now, Charlie Gehringer. This was a really great year for Charlie Gehringer in 1937. This was really the best hitting season of his career in terms of just making pure contact with the ball. Yes, he had 14 homers, 96 RBI, which is still pretty good for those days. But he hit .371 on the season, which was just pretty darn good. Actually beat Lou Gehrig in batting average by 20 points. Lou Gehrig had like a 350 or so. This guy had 371 to take home the title. And this was the lone batting title of his career. Pretty good stuff there. 14 homers, 96 RBI, a 144 OPS plus. He also got on base pretty frequently. 458 on base percentage, 520 on the slugging percentage. Came out of it with 7.8 wins above replacement. Now, while it wasn't his best season based on wins above replacement, 1935 was a lot better of a season than actually 1934 was a lot better, 1935 better in terms of wins above replacement. This was a solid all-around season for Charlie Gehringer, big contact, and definitely the best pure hitting season he had of his career. Plus he had some decent defensive numbers as well. He had over 1 defensive wins above replacement, which is pretty good for a second baseman as well. So there you go. Charlie Gehringer from the 1937 Detroit Tigers is it. Perfect team. 24. Alrighty. Next up, let's finish out the rebirth era for right now. And let's go to another guy who is also a prolific power hitter of the 1940s. I know Hack Wilson didn't quite make it to the 1940s, if I recall correctly, but this guy, kind of an underrated power hitter that you don't really think about too often in terms of being like a superstar of the 1940s. I mean, you had guys that really socked some dingers in the 1940s, but this guy right here was pretty good at doing it for a lot of the Brooklyn Dodgers teams that made it to the World Series during his career. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1941 Brooklyn Dodgers, we have 100 overall first baseman Dolph Camilli. Dolph Camilli, 83 BABIP, 130 power, 67 avoid K, 111 contact, 88 gap power, and 124 on the eye. This guy is a very solid power hitter against both sides, but a little bit more against lefties as a left-handed hitter. So he's got a little bit of reverse splits if you really think about it. Against lefties, he's got 93 BABIP, 138 power, 58 avoid K, 117 contact, 97 gap power, 125 on the eye. Against righties, he's got 80 BABIP, 128 power, a little bit more avoid K at 70, but a little less contact, a little less gap power, and just a couple points lower in eye. So I want to take a look at his splits here, because they are fascinating for the 1941 season. This is kind of like a late career Dolph Camilli. He only had like a few years with Brooklyn, but his OPS against lefties wasn't too far off from his OPS against righties. Against lefties, he hit .278, .404, .570 with 10 homers, 37 RBI in 151 at-bats. Now, you compare that a little bit to .288, .408, .550 for a .958 OPS with 24 homers, 83 RBI against righties. So, while statistically, he had a better batting average, more homers, well, he had more homers in more at-bats. He had like about 227 more at-bats against righties than he did against lefties. His OPS was just a little bit slightly better against lefties, and the home run rate was a little bit better against lefties than it was against righties. So It's kind of why he has a little bit of reverse splits on him here. Because of his efforts during the 1941 season, he hit 285 overall, 407 bang on base, 556 slugging, 34 homers, 120 RBI, 164 on the OPS plus. He was a 1941 National League MVP. Pretty good stuff right there. Led the National League in home runs and RBI, and they were career highs for him as well at the age of 34, which is pretty impressive at that time. But he also led Major League Baseball in strikeouts. He had 115 strikeouts, but I know we had a question in here about why his eye is so high. Well, that's because he also had 104 walks during the year. So again, this is another one of those early year 3 true outcome guys before 3 true outcome was really a collective term for a lot of people. 115 strikeouts, 104 walks, 34 homers, 120 RBI, and he still hit 285. That's pretty darn cool. Honestly, Dolph Camilli's game could probably, translate a little bit to today, if you really think about it. He was also an all-star in the 1941 season, led the National League in homers and RBI, led in MLB in avoid K. And he also, during the 1941 season, became just the 9th National League player to hit their 200th career home run, doing so during the 1941 season. Reached the 200 mark. Not bad, not bad, not bad at all. Defensively, he's kind of decent. 60 range, 52 error, 57 arm, and 52 on the turn double play over at first. He's got 32 speed, 58 stealing, 53 base running, so not the fastest guy on the base paths. Sack bunt, don't have Dolph Camilli sack bunt. Just don't. Just don't. So there you go. Dolph Camilli from the 1941 Brooklyn Dodgers is in Perfect Team 24. Alrighty, let's move on. Let's move on to the golden era. And we got a few really good players coming up here for y'all. And we're going to start out, we're talking about a lot of, we've had a lot of power players. We've had a lot of power hitters, and this next card is one of them. But it's from a position you might not think about as being a real, power hitting position back in the late 1940s. And that's from behind the plate. Ladies and gentlemen, the guy who has the most home runs in a season by any major league catcher of the 1940s, any American League or National League catcher of the 1940s, ladies and gentlemen, from the 1947 New York Giants, it is 94 overall, Walker Cooper. Walker Cooper, 70 BABIP, 134 power, 73 avoid K, 104 contact, 92 gap, and 45 on the eye. Big power guy, this Walker Cooper fella. 140 power against righties. Lefties, he's got 117 in power here. He's going to strike out a little bit. He's not going to walk a little bit, but he will make a little bit of contact. 70 BABIP here as well, 73 avoid K. 92 on the gap power, so he'll hit a few extra base hits here and there. Defensively, he's not bad behind the plate. 90 catcher ability, 88 on the catcher arm. This is kind of like, my first thought looking at this is this kind of looks like a kind of a souped up tournament edition Javier Lopez. Or Javi Lopez, if you really think about it. Because, he got a little bit more catcher ability. He's got some souped up power here. That's really the big comparison I could make between with this Walker Cooper card here. 90 catcher ability, 88 on the arm. Pretty kind of low on the speed, stealing, and base running. 37 speed, 67 stealing, 73 on the base running. Now, Walker Cooper's 1947 season, definitely one of the more prolific power hitting seasons for a catcher in the 1940s. And if we take a look at the stats here, he hit 305, 339, 586 during the regular season, 35 homers, 122 RBI, 141 on the OPS plus. This is kind of, I mean, if you look at it, this is a little bit of an outlier season for Walker Cooper. 35 homers, the most home runs in a season by any MLB catcher of the 1940s, which that's saying something given that there were quite a few power hitters back in that time period. But he never hit more than 20 in a season the rest of the way. Like he had a 20 home run season in 1949, and then he had a 14 homer season in 1950, had 18 in 1951. He never really got back to hitting like 30 bombs a year. So this is a little bit of an outlier season for Walker Cooper here. Definitely the best year of his career. But still, when you look at it as a whole, it's kind of a little bit of a flash in the pan season. He was still a really good player. He hit like 173 homers in his career, which is pretty good. Pretty darn good. 4.7 wins above replacement. Obviously his best season. Best season of offensive wins above replacement. 0.3 defensive wins above replacement was pretty good as well. He was an all-star that year. Finished 18th in the National League MVP vote. And at one point during the 1947 season, homered in 6 consecutive games. 6 consecutive games, which tied a Major League record. So there you go. Walker Cooper from the 1947 New York Giants is it. Perfect team. 24. All right. Next up, you know what? We've had a lot of great hitters so far. All right. Let's step back a little bit and let's give a little love to some of the defensive guys from this particular era, the golden era. And you know, one of the best defenders of the 1940s on the infield, one guy that's pretty, that was pretty essential to the story of the Brooklyn Dodgers of the 1940s. This guy, an incredible player, an incredible person. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1949 Brooklyn Dodgers, it is 100 overall shortstop Pee Wee Reese. Pee Wee Reese, 79 BABIP, 76 power, 74 void K, 92 contact, 85 gap, 103 on the eye. But you're not getting this guy for the bat. You are getting it for the speed and for the defense here. 103 range, 102 error, 94 arm, 97 turn double play on the infield. Now, I know we've had a lot of really great defensive shortstops these last few weeks. Pretty darn good. This guy, right up there with him. 91 speed, 102 stealing, 104 base running as well. So he's got some stolen base ability in here as well. Bunting ability, not quite there. 68 sack bunt, 61 on the bunt for hit. Against lefties, he's got a little bit of a better bat. 82 BABIP, 67 power, 83 avoid K, 94 contact, 82 gap, 113 on the eye. Then against righties, he got 79 BABIP, 79 power. So he's got a little bit more power against righties here. 71 avoid K, 92 contact, 85 gap, 100 on the eye. Pee Wee Reese wasn't really the greatest hitter ever. He had some pretty good years at the plate. This was probably, all things considered, this was probably his best hitting season of his career. 1949, he hit 279, 396, 410, 16 homers. That was a career high. 73 RBI and a 113 OPS plus. Walked 116 times during the year. A career high for him. Only the second time in his career, and the last time in his career, he had over 100 walks during the regular season. He led the National League in runs scored with 132, and he also led Major League Baseball in defensive WAR that year with 2.3. So, best defender of the season, pretty much. Had career highs in homers, walks, and total bases as well with 253 of them. So, this is another pretty solid defensive option at shortstop if you don't have a lot of some of the shortstops that we've released over the last few weeks. This is another pretty good option. One that has a little bit of a bat, not the greatest bat in the world, but definitely has a little bit of a bat. If he can hit for you, that'll be a big plus there. Ladies and gentlemen, Pee Wee Reese from the 1949 Brooklyn Dodgers is it. Perfect team. 24. Alrighty. Next up, let's go to the St. Louis Cardinals. And let me tell you, the St. Louis Cardinals of the golden era had some really great starting pitching. And this guy was a bit on the, I wouldn't say younger side. He's kind of in his mid-20s when he made his debut for the Cardinals. But this guy had a fantastic rookie season in his first year in the big leagues. And he became a solid pitcher the rest of his career the whole entire way. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1953 St. Louis Cardinals, it is left-handed starting pitcher, 100 overall, Harvey Haddix. Harvey Haddix, 92 stuff, 101 movement, 93 homer, 94 pitcher BABIP, 87 control, but very, very splitty. Look at the stuff here against lefties. 97 stuff, 121 movement, 106 homer rating, 100 pitcher BABIP, 99 control. Not great against righties. I will readily admit that. 90 stuff, 94 movement, 88 homer rating, 92 pitcher BABIP, 83 control. I can already see a lot of y'all saying this is a lefty specialist right here, and I do not disagree with you on this. Fastball, slider, curveball, changeup combo on this guy right here. 107 stamina, 102 on the hold runners. That's a big number right there on the hold runners. That could be fairly interesting here. But the 1953 season for Harvey Haddix. A lot of people say this was the best year of his career. I know he's more known for the 12-inning perfect game that he lost, which, thank you to the Pirates offense of the 1960s. But, you know, this was his lone 20-win season of his career, and it came in his rookie year. He had a lot of solid seasons afterward. I mean, he had an 18-win season with St. Louis the next year. He had, but he never won more than 13 after the 1954 season during a year. But he was always a solid pitcher for both the Cardinals and for the Pirates. He had a couple of interesting seasons with the Orioles near the end of his career as well. But in 1953, he went 20-9 with a 3.06 ERA, 5.8 strikeouts per nine, 2.5 walks per nine, and a 1.39 ERA plus. Finished second in the 1953 Rookie of the Year voting to Jim Gilliam, of all people. And even Jim Gilliam said he was surprised that he won Rookie of the Year that year over Harvey Haddix, because Harvey Haddix, 7.3 wins above replacement as well. I mean, he had a solid season. 163 strikeouts, 69 walks, did give up 24 homers, but 3.06 ERA, 20 wins. That's not bad for the 1950s right there. And he led the National League in shutouts as a rookie with 6 of them. He had 19 complete games in total, including 5 straight complete games starting the second half of the season after the All-Star break. From July 19th all the way through August 6th, 5 straight complete games. Pretty cool stuff right there. Harvey Haddix from the 1953 St. Louis Cardinals. Really great lefty guy here. Can really shut down left-handed hitters. He is in. Perfect team. 24. All right, so there's our 3 Golden Era cards. Walker Cooper, Pee Wee Reese, and Harvey Haddix. Let's go to the Boom Era, folks. And let me tell you, we have some fun cards coming up for you. And once again, I will expect a lot of boos in chat, because we have another Detroit Tiger. And ladies and gentlemen, this is probably one of the most prolific hitting seasons by a catcher of the 1960s. In terms of both batting average, in terms of both home runs as well. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1961 Detroit Tigers, it is 99 overall, Stormin' Norman Cash. Norm Cash, 112 BABIP, 112 power, 88 avoid K, 136 contact, 76 gap, and 117 on the eye. Do not pay attention to the splits against lefties. Look at the ones against righties here, because holy cats. 116 BABIP, 121 power, 96 avoid K. Why did I say Norm Cash was a catcher when he was clearly a first baseman? I'm just going to fire myself for that egregious statement. I will readily hand over my Detroit Tigers fan card in shame. 96 avoid K, 145 contact, 75 gap, and 122 on the eye. That's pretty good against righties. That's pretty good against righties. Pretty good. Against lefties, though, I mean, we have to kind of address it. 99 BABIP, 85 power, 63 avoid K, 107 contact, 78 gap, 101 eye. So definitely going to be probably more of a platoon option over at first base for a lot of people. 74 range, 62 error, 59 arms, 69 turnover play at first base. So he wasn't a bad defender over at first base. 56 speed, 69 ceiling, 60 on the base running. So bit mid in terms of speed, stealing, and base running right there. But the 1961 season for Norm Cash, a very prolific year for Mr. Cash. 361, 487, 662 on the slash line, 41 homers, 132 RBI, and a 201 OPS plus. Finished, and somehow, with all that, finished fourth in American League MVP in the 1961 season. Who did he lose to in 1961? Who did he lose to in 1961? I just want to know. Oh, Roger Maris. That makes sense. And Mickey Mantle and Jim Gentile. Okay. That makes sense. A little bit. Made both All-Star games this year, but he also led Major League Baseball in batting average, on base, and on base plus slugging percentage. Take that, Roger Maris. Take that, Roger Maris. Oh, man. 67 strikeouts for Maris compared to 85 for Mr. Cash. Cash had 124 walks during the year as well, which is pretty good. He also led the American League in hits that year with 193 of them, and that 361 batting average was the highest single-season batting average of the entire 1960s. Pretty cool stuff right there. And that 361 batting average, the highest by a Detroit Tiger until Maglio Ordonez passed him with a 363 in 2007. So there you go. Norm Cash, 1961 Detroit Tiger. Is it perfect team 24? Alrighty. Let's keep on going through the boom era, and let's go to kind of a very consistent batting average and power hitter of the 1960s in the National League. You know, a lot of people say this guy is a little bit underrated, and honestly, I can kind of agree with this. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1965 Chicago Cubs, we have 100 overall left fielder Billy Williams. Billy Williams, 92 BABIP, 102 power, 94 avoid K, 120 contact, 92 gap power, and 81 on the eye. Pretty solid stuff right here. Against lefties, he's got 109 BABIP, 97 power, 83 avoid K, 128 contact, 102 gap, and 79 on the eye. Meanwhile, you look at his stuff against righties here. He's got 86 BABIP, so a lot lower with that. And by the way, this is a left-handed hitter, by the way. 104 power, 97 avoid K, 116 contact, 89 gap, and 82 eye. So in some respects, he has a little bit of reverse splits against lefties here, but against righties, he's got a little more power, he's got a little more avoid K, a little bit better eye, but a little bit less contact here for Billy Williams. Billy Williams can play all three outfield positions, mainly left field, can play a little bit of right field, play just a tiny bit of center field as well, 74 range, 72 error, 82 on arm. 55 speed, 83 stealing, 72 on the base running as well. But 1965 season, you know, Billy Williams had a lot of solid years of his career, and this was just another one of them, really. In the 1965 season, as a 27-year-old, hit 315, 377, 552, 34 home runs, 108 RBI, and a 157 OPS plus for the Cubs. Finished 12th in the National League MVP vote. He was an all-star that year. And this was the third of 6 straight seasons that Billy Williams had with 25 or more home runs. 7.7 wins above replacement overall. 7.4 offensive wins above replacement compared to like negative 0.4 defensive WAR. So wasn't the best defender of the period, obviously. But that 7.7 WAR, the highest of Billy Williams' career. And this guy was pretty good. I mean, you could count on him for more than 25 homers a year. He actually hit 42 of them in 1970, which is pretty awesome. But you could pencil him in for at least at 270, 280, 290, 25 homers, between 80, 90 RBIs or so every year. And you can pretty much book it for that year. This guy was just that consistent during his peak with the Chicago Cubs. You know, a lot of people are, pretty much consistent here. Billy Williams, 1965, Chicago Cub. He is in. Perfect team. 24. Alrighty. Let's keep on going. We got one more card from the boom era. And you know, we can't really talk about the baseball boom era of the 1960s without one of the most influential players to play in the big leagues. And while this guy, you know, has a big distinction, and that is he is the only player to have won MVP of both the National League and the American League. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1962 Cincinnati Reds, it is 100 overall, Frank Robinson. Frank Robinson, 94 BABIP, 133 power, 95 avoid K, 130 contact, 107 gap, and 94 on the eye. Now we got a pretty good all-around hitter right here. Against righties, he's got 97 BABIP, 136 power, 96 avoid K, 134 contact, 109 gap, and 91 on the eye. Against lefties, he's got some interesting splits as well. 83 BABIP, 122 power, 92 avoid K, 118 contact, 99 gap, 102 on the eye. You can play both left field and right field, and he's pretty good at it too. 81 range, 94 error, 93 on the outfield arm. So he's got a little bit of an arm out there in right field. Not bad. 67 speed, 73 stealing, 97 on the base running, 82 sack bunt, 65 on the bunt for hit. So for Frank Robinson, while this was not one of his MVP seasons, which obviously we could have gone with one of Frank Robinson's MVP seasons. I mean, he just had so many great seasons of his career. 1962 was a very, very good one for Frank Robinson. This is coming off of a 1961 MVP campaign, and he pretty much was better in 1962 than he was in 1961. Hit 342, 421, 624 with 39 homers, 136 RBI, and a 173 OPS plus, all better numbers than he had in the 1961 season. And yet he finished fourth in the National League MVP vote, finishing behind guys like Maury Wills, Willie Mays, Tommy Davis. Now, Willie Mays probably, was the better MVP candidate that year. I mean, he had 10.5 wins above replacement. But Frank Robinson, probably deserved a little bit better than fourth place in the MVP vote. Let's be honest with ourselves here. He led MLB in doubles. He had 51 of them that year. He had lead in runs scored with 134. He led all of MLB with that. He led all of MLB in slugging percentage. He led in intentional walks. And he led the National League in on-base percentage with 421. And that 8.7 WAR, despite having 2 MVP seasons, this was the best season of his career in terms of wins above replacement. 8.7 WAR. Actually, no, this was the, 8.7 WAR. Yeah, best year of his career. You could also make a case for 1966, but that was 7.7 WAR, 8.9 offensive WAR, so wasn't his best offensive WAR season, but it was his best overall wins above replacement season. Pretty cool stuff. So there you go. Frank Robinson, big power hitter, pretty good contact hitter, can play both corner outfield spots pretty darn good. He is in Perfect Team 24. So there you go. There's our 3 cards from the boom era. We have Norm Cash, Billy Williams, Frank Robinson. Let's go to the defensive era, and we got a few good cards from the 1980s. And ladies and gentlemen, we love the Cincinnati Reds so much on this stream, on This Week in Perfect Team, that we are going to give you a second straight Cincinnati Red. How's that sound? Ladies and gentlemen, one of the great what-if stories of baseball of this time period coming to you right now. 1987 Cincinnati Red, 97 overall. It is center fielder Eric Davis. Eric Davis, 89 BABIP, 101 power, 45 avoid K, 97 contact, 84 gap, 117 on the eye. Against lefties, look at the power and eye combo that we have here. 97 BABIP, 122 power, 48 avoid K, 111 contact, 86 gap, 119 on the eye. Big power, big eye, big contact right here. Plus, he's got some really great range in the outfield. He's got 93 range, 93 error, 93 arm. Can play center field and can also play some left field as well. Can play a little bit of left field as well. He can train up there as well. This could be a solid player for maybe some perfect drafts or some tournaments that you can actually, have him fully in left field with that 123 rating out there. Solid choice, potentially. Plus, he's got 89 speed, 106 stealing, 123 on the base running. Because this guy, was a great combination between power, speed, and hitting during his career. 1987 for Mr. Davis, 293, 399, 593 on the slash line, 37 homers, 100 RBI, and 50 stolen bases. This is the first ever 30 home run, 50 stolen base season in MLB history. Pretty good stuff right there. Finished 9th in National League MVP during that year. He was an all-star. He won the Gold Glove Award, won a Silver Slugger as well. He had career highs this year in home runs. He had a career high in walks with 84 of them, and in OPS plus with 155. And this season, 1987, the first guy ever to hit 3 grand slams in a single month. Pretty cool right there. So there you go. 1987, Eric Davis from the Cincinnati Reds. Good defense, good power hitting, good speed on him. He is in. Perfect team. 24. Alrighty, folks. Oh. Folks, I'm going to have to do it to you again, guys, because we got ourselves another Detroit Tiger. We got ourselves another Detroit Tiger in this set. This is the Tiger set today, folks, okay? Eric Davis, former Tiger. We've had Norm Cash. We've had Charlie Gehringer. Goodness gracious. That never happens. That never happens. But folks, we got we've had one Detroit Tigers second baseman today. How about another of the 1980s? Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1983 Detroit Tigers, ladies and gentlemen, it is 100 overall, Lou Whitaker. 111 BABIP, 59 power, 81 avoid K, 115 contact, 104 gap, and 80 on the eye. Very good against right-handed batters as a left-handed hitter. 115 BABIP, 60 power, 80 avoid K, 118 contact, 107 gap, and 80 on the eye. Very solid BABIP guy, very solid contact hitter. He's also got some pretty good defense over at second base. 96 range, 89 error, 86 arm, and 92 on the turn double play. 66 speed, 67 stealing, 79 on the base running, 66 sack bunt, 59 on the bunt for hit as well. 1983, second highest WAR of his career, 6.3 offensive wins above replacement. This guy was a solid hitter. 1983, 320, 380, 457 on the slash line, 12 homers, 72 RBI, and a 133 OPS plus. Pretty cool stuff there. Finished 8th in American League MVP, his highest finish in an MVP vote in his career, which is just absolutely criminal if you ask me. He won the Gold Glove, won the Silver Slugger, and made an All-Star game as well. 6.3 offensive wins above replacement, 1.1 defensive wins above replacement, so he's a pretty good defender as well during this particular year as well. 6.7 WAR was the second highest of his career by just 0.1 point to his 1991 season. He also finished 3rd in American League in average and hits during the year with 206. So a pretty good year all around for Lou Whitaker. Turned 92 double plays during the regular season as well. Only made 13 errors. 983 fielding percentage, so a little bit above average there. Does he get a power up with Alan Trammell there? Who knows? Who knows? But there you go. Lou Winnaker from the 1983 Detroit Tigers. He is it. Perfect team. 24. All right. We have one more card from the defensive era to show off to you today. And, you know, you can't really talk about the 1980s in baseball without talking about the New York Mets, because, oh boy, those New York Mets. You know, they had some good teams. They had some good teams of the 1980s. But this guy right here, our next card, was the player that defined the 1980s New York Mets. Ladies and gentlemen, the man they called Dr. K. It is 1985 right-handed starting pitcher, 100 overall, Dwight Gooden. 106 stuff, 120 movement, 110 homer rating, 99 pitcher BABIP, and 93 control. And some pretty interesting splits here as well. 107 stuff, 119 movement, 110 homer rating, 101 pitcher BABIP, 95 control. Against lefties, he's got 104 stuff, 120 movement, 111 homer rating, 98 pitcher BABIP, 91 control. So not too far off on the splits here. Not too far off on the splits. 104 stamina, 647 on the hold runners. He's got a fastball, he's got a slider, he's got a curveball, he's got a changeup as well. This is a solid pitcher right here that kind of, you know, encapsulates Dwight Gooden's 1985. Because holy cow, this has got to be one of the best pitching seasons of the modern era of baseball this side of Bob Gibson's 1968. 24-4, a 1.53 ERA, 8.7 strikeouts per nine, 2.2 walks per nine, and a 2.29 ERA plus. He was the Cy Young Award winner. He was 4th in NL MVP. He was an All-Star, second lowest single season ERA in the live ball era. 1.53 ERA. The only guy lower was the aforementioned 1968 Bob Gibson. That is how good Dwight Gooden was during 1985. I mean, there's a lot that I could have put on this slide. He is also the youngest pitcher of the last half century with a 200 ERA plus. I mean, there's a lot of stats I could talk about with Dwight Gooden. The black ink on his page here on Baseball Reference for that 1985 season is just absolutely incredible. I mean, a 2.13 FIP, 2.29 ERA plus, 268 strikeouts, 276 and 2/3 innings pitched. He had 16 complete games, 24 wins, highest in his career. 12.2 wins above replacement, led all of Major League Baseball. This was after he had a Rookie of the Year campaign in which he had a better strikeout rate, more strikeouts, a bit of a worse ERA, but still led the National League in wins above replacement. I tell you, 1984 and 1985 for Dwight Gooden, probably two of the best back-to-back pitching seasons that we'll probably ever see in baseball right here. So there you go, Dwight Gooden from the 1985 New York Mets is in Perfect Team 24. All right, we have just 2 more eras to get through, 6 more cards to show off. Let's go to the power era of baseball. And this guy, uncharacteristically, showed a little bit of power during the 1999 season. The most power he's ever shown in his entire career. That power came at the plate, not necessarily on defense, famously for this guy, but probably the best hitting season of this guy's career. And yet, all everyone ever wants to talk about is his defense. Because, yeah, I think, defense is a good thing to have for this particular position. Was never really great at it. Well, let's just cut to the chase. This is 93 overall shortstop from the 1999 New York Yankees. It is Derek Jeter. 114 BABIP, 76 power, 84 void K, 124 contact, 96 gap power, and 94 on the eye. This is a very splitty card. And folks, this is with his defense gassed up. Oh, gracious. Look at the splits against righties here. 122 BABIP, 75 power, 87 avoid K, 132 contact, 100 gap power, 96 on the eye. So this is kind of maybe a platoon guy, maybe a designated hitter kind of guy, potentially. 89 BABIP, 79 power, 75 avoid K, 102 contact, 83 gap, 88 eye against lefties. Speed, stealing, and base running, not the greatest. 57 speed, 75 stealing, 94 base running. Defensively, we just couldn't quite get him to 80 range. Even though, oh, Derek Jeter. 1999, not the best defensive WAR season of his career. But definitely not the worst defensive season of his career. But this was the best offensive season by a wide margin of Derek Jeter's career. 9.1 offensive wins above replacement, 8 wins above replacement overall. He was an all-star, finished 6th in AL MVP, 349, 438, 552 on the slash line. 24 homers, 102 RBI, and a 153 OPS plus. And this wins above replacement, by the way, his 8.0 wins above replacement, the 5th highest total among all shortstops of the 1990s. Which, that was just fascinating to me when I saw that on StatHead, by the way. Led MLB in hits that year and led in wins above replacement as well. Led all of Major League Baseball in wins above replacement somehow with 8. Pretty cool stuff. And he also became the second Yankee shortstop ever with 102 plus RBI during the regular season. And of course, as y'all know, helped lead them to the World Series over the Atlanta Braves in 1999. So there you go, Derek Jeter from the 1999 New York Yankees is it. Perfect team. 24. Should have trolled him by adding third base eligibility. That would have been hilarious, if historically inaccurate, but also kind of hilarious. All right, so now that we have a good hitter out of the way, let's go to a good pitcher here. Now, a lot can be said about this guy's pitching career here. But sneakily, he had some really great seasons in the 90s and in the early 2000s as well. Ladies and gentlemen, our next player from the power era, 100 overall, right-handed starter from the Los Angeles Dodgers, It is right-hander Kevin Brown. 98 stuff, 120 movement, 106 homer rating, 108 pitcher BABIP, and 98 control. And he's got some pretty interesting splits here. 95 stuff, 125 movement, 107 homer, 105 pitcher BABIP, and 94 control against lefties. Against righties, he's got 100 stuff, 116 movement, 105 homer rating, 111 pitcher BABIP, and 100 control. Pretty cool stuff right here. 99 stamina, 61 on the hold runners, 75 on the fastball. He's got sliders, got curveball, changeup, sinker, splitter, extreme ground ball type, which could matter to a lot of people. 93, 95 on the velocity. Kevin Brown, one of the more underrated pitchers of the 90s and the 2000s. Now, I will mention that, he's had, some allegations of having some balanced breakfasts as well during his career. But 2000 season with the Dodgers, his second year out in LA, 13-6 record with a 2.58 ERA, 8.5 strikeouts per nine, 1.8 walks per nine, and a 1.67 ERA plus. He was an all-star. He was 6th in NL Cy Young voting. Second year in a row, he actually finished 6th in Cy Young voting. But he had a .991 whip during that year. Walks and hits per innings pitched. .991, second lowest of his career during the year. Led the National League in that category. And he also led the National League in strikeout to walk ratio at 4.6 strikeouts to walks. Not the best number of his career in terms of that category, but the third best of his career. This guy pretty solid all around during the regular season. Second best whip of his career, third best K to walk rate. And he also led the National League in ERA with a 2.58. Now, Dodgers did not make the playoffs during that year because, they just had him and maybe Chan-Ho Park as their good starting pitchers. But this guy was a very solid pitcher for quite a long time. I know a lot of people talk about his 1996 season with Florida as a very good one. He had a great season in 92 with Texas. He had some pretty solid seasons in his career. This is a pretty good one of them. Maybe even an immortal one. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 2000 LA Dodgers, Kevin Brown in Perfect Team 24. Alrighty, next up we got one more player from the power era to show off for you. And it is probably one of the most dominant closers of the time period that just recently got into the Hall of Fame, deservedly so. If I'm recalling correctly, I just need to double check here before I talk out of my rear end here. Oh, nope, he's still not in the Hall of Fame. Should be though. Certainly should be. Certainly should be. I mean, he got 68.1%. He's so close. He's so close. He should be in the Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 2003 Houston Astros, it is 100 overall, Billy Wagner. Billy Wagner, left-handed closer from the Astros, 141 stuff, 116 movement, 100 homer rating, 112 pitching BABIP, and 91 on the control. Some very good splits against lefties here, 148 stuff, 124 movement, 108 homer rating, 118 pitcher BABIP, and 100 on the control. Against righties, he's got 139 stuff, 113 movement, 96 homer rating, 110 pitcher BABIP, and 88 control. 18 stamina, 79 on the hold runners, 98 to 100 on the velocity. He's a neutral ground ball to fly ball tendency. He's got fastball, he's got a slider, he's got a little bit of a curveball, a little bit of a changeup, but this guy, pretty much basically fastball and slider. That's what you're going to see a lot out of him here. 4-pitch reliever, throws 100. This could be definitely one of the best left-handed relievers in the game here, potentially. 2003 season was probably the most dominant of his career. 78 games, 44 saves, a career high, 1.78 ERA, 11 strikeouts per 9, 2.4 walks per 9. He was an all-star. He had a few votes in National League MVP that year. His .872 whip, 5th lowest of his career. That is a whip that starts with a .8. And that being the 5th lowest of his career, that's saying something about how dominant Billy Wagner was during his career. I mean, he had a .777 with Houston in 1999. He had a .865 with Atlanta in 2010. He had an .837 with Philadelphia in 2005. .766 with Philadelphia in 2004. This guy, how is he not in the Hall of Fame already? Goodness gracious. Also had the most saves of his career, like I said. But he was also involved in the 2003 season in a 6-pitcher combined no-hitter versus the New York Yankees in the 2003 season, which was pretty good. So there you go. Billy Wagner from the 2003 Houston Astros. He is in Perfect Team 24. All right, so there's your Power Era cards. We have Derek Jeter, Kevin Brown, Billy Wagner. Let's go to the modern era. And let me tell you, probably one of the most... This next guy here had a 2-year stretch of pitching that in the time that I was growing up, in my formative years pitching, this guy was absolutely electric to watch when he was on. It is an absolute shame that ineffectiveness and injuries pretty much derailed his career after, maybe 2012, 2013 or so. But this guy was always fun to watch. Some would say he was a bit of a freak, a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, 2009 right-handed starter from the San Francisco Giants. It is 97 overall, big-time Timmy Jim, Tim Lincecum. 109 stuff, 119 movement, 112 homer rating, 87 pitcher BABIP, 74 control. This guy, not the greatest pitching BABIP guy, not the greatest control guy, but he keeps the ball in the yard and can strike out a lot of folks here. Against righties, 111 stuff, 125 movement, 117 homer rating, 89 pitcher BABIP, and 77 control. Against lefties, he's got 105 stuff, 112 movement, 107 homer rating, 85 pitcher BABIP, and 69 control. 93 stamina, 41 on the hold runners, 87 on the... He's got fastball, he's got slider, he's got curveball, sinker, and splitter. He's got a big ol' arsenal here. 95-97, he's a ground ball pitcher. Right-handed starter here. Tim Lincecum. Man, oh man, there's a lot you could say about how dominant this guy was in the first couple years of his career. 2008, 2009, back-to-back Cy Young winner in the National League. Pretty darn cool. 2009, he went 15-7 with a 2.48 ERA, 10.4 strikeouts per 9, 2.7 walks per 9, and a 171 ERA plus. I mean, there is so much that could be said about that 2009 season. I mean, second straight year in which he led the whole of MLB in strikeout rate. He actually cut down on the walks from the previous year he had. He had a better FIP that year with a 2.34 FIP. 261 strikeouts that year. 171 ERA plus, which was actually better than his 2008 season. And he led the National League in complete games as well. He had 4 of them. He also had 2 shutouts during the regular season. All those career highs for him. He was the 2009 NL Cy Young Award winner. He was an All-Star that year as well. First in history to win Cy Young in their first 2 full seasons in Major League Baseball. Tim Lincecum, man, oh man, what a start he had. And man, oh man, he just kind of fell off after 2011, which is just kind of sad to watch, really. Just very sad to watch. I mean, you know, if a Hall of Fame peak was just 5 years, yeah, he'd definitely be a Hall of Famer. And then he went to the LA Angels, which we all know the LA Angels can ruin pitchers' careers. He tried one more time, 2016, and then just nope, just didn't happen. So there you go. Tim Lincecum from the 2009 San Francisco Giants is in Perfect Team 24. Alrighty, next up, let's go to the East Coast for this next one. Ladies and gentlemen, this is probably, one of the most quietly dominant relief seasons that we have seen in the last decade. I know it's a reliever. I know we just had Billy Wagner, who is pretty darn good. But this next guy was the guy that closed out the 2013 World Series for the Boston Red Sox. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 100 overall right-handed closer Koji Uehara from the Boston Red Sox. 137 stuff, 114 movement, 91 homer rating, 128 pitching BABIP, 103 control. And let me tell you, folks, these are some fun splits right here. Against lefties, 138 stuff, 121 movement, 102 homer rating, 128 pitcher BABIP, and 102 control. That's against lefties as a right-handed pitcher. Against righties, he's got 137 stuff, 109 movement, 85 homer rating, 128 pitching BABIP, and 105 control. Fastball, splitter, cutter combo on this guy. He is a fly ball pitcher. Doesn't quite have, a fast velocity here, 89 to 91. But man, oh man, he kept the ball in the ballpark. This is arguably the best season of his professional career. A lot of people don't think of Koji Uehara when they talk about dominant relievers of the 2010s, but this guy definitely in consideration to be one of the best of the 2010s. Because for a time, he was just absolutely unhittable. And this was the peak of his performance. He signed with Boston after, he went to Boston after a couple of years in Baltimore, a couple of years in Texas, and he just absolutely wrecked the American League during 2013 season. 12.2 strikeouts per 9, 1.1 walks per 9, 73 games, 21 saves, and a 1.09 ERA. And his FIP was a 1.61. That is pretty darn good. That 1.09 ERA, the lowest ERA in his pro career, third highest strikeout to walk ratio of his career, and the .565 whip he had, which kind of rounds up to about a .57. That is the record for a pitcher with 50 or more innings pitched. .565 on the whip. This guy, absolute stud, coming out of the bullpen for the 2013 Red Sox. I don't want to talk more about the 2013 Red Sox because reasons, but I have to admit, Koji Uehara, damn good pitcher. 2013 Koji Uehara in Perfect Team 24. All right, folks. We got one more card to show off for y'all today. And folks, what better way to end this stream than just one teensy little bit more of the Detroit Tigers. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the best hitting seasons of the 2010s, the first Triple Crown winner since 1967. It is 100 overall third baseman from your 2012 Detroit Tigers, Miguel Cabrera. 107 BABIP, 135 power, 105 avoid K, 145 contact, 110 gap, 111 on the eye. Yes! Ha ha ha! Yes! Against lefties, he's got 111 BABIP, 106 power, 101 avoid K, 139 contact, 119 gap power, 125 on the eye. Against righties, he's got 105 BABIP, 145 power, 107 avoid K, 148 contact, 107 gap, 106 on the eye. Yes, he is in packs. Gotta love the days of the 2010s where the Tigers signed Prince Fielder and put him at first base and then moved Miguel Cabrera over to third to create probably one of the worst defensive infields of all time. But you know, Miggy did his best over there. You know, he gave it the old college try over at third base. But boy, oh boy, you have to admire Miguel Cabrera's 2012 season. 330, 393, 606, 44 homers, 139 RBI, and a 164 OPS plus. Whew, boy. 2012 American League MVP over some guy named Mike Trout. Deservedly so. Deservedly so. He was a Silver Slugger. He was an All-Star. First Tigers player to hit 30 or more homers in 5 straight years. I will not be talking about the 2012 World Series during this stream. Thank you very much. 65 range, 63 error, 77 arm, and 74 turn double play on the infield. He can only play third base because he did not play first base during the 2012 season, which, you know, kind of sad, but what can you do? I am happy. I am content with this card. It is such a good Miguel Cabrera card. I will be playing this card if I get it. I will be starting him at third base against my better judgment. Or at DH. Who knows? Who knows? But there you go. Miguel Cabrera, 2012 Detroit Tiger. He is in. Perfect team 24. So there you go. Your Immortal Seasons set number 3. Hack Wilson, Derek Jeter, Walker Cooper, Tim Lincecum, Eric Davis, Norm Cash, Sam Crawford, Koji, Home Run Baker, Miguel Cabrera, Dwight Gooden, Pee Wee Reese, Kevin Brown, Frank Robinson, Tip O'Neill, Billy Wagner, Harvey Haddix, Billy Williams, Lou Whitaker, Charlie Gehringer, Dolph Camilli, all in Perfect Team 24 in packs. And guess what? Guess what, folks? Cards are live right now. Have fun. All right, before we sign off for the day, let's talk about our weekly leaderboard champs for week 24, the second week of the PTCS number 6 period. From September 11th through the 17th, your Daily Iron champion last week was Mandy T and the Madison Moundsman with 93 points, 3 weeks in a row. He's won the Iron Weekly Leaderboard Championship. Congratulations to him. Daily Bronze was won last week by Zargian 2 and the Debrecen Giants with 107 points. Daily Silver last week won by Lydora and the Midgar Materia with 119 points. Daily Gold with Michigator and the Pawtucket Poets with 117 points. Daily Diamond won by Ricky Vaughn and the Eternia Skeletors with 179 points. Daily Open last week was won by Holophant and the Fun Society with 175 points. 2 weeks in a row that they have won the Daily Open Leaderboard Championship. Daily Wildcard last week won by BK and Mets Fan and the Park Slope Bourbon Bros with 152 points. Weekly tournaments, it was C. Steinhardt and the baseball team with 132 points taking the top spot last week. Perfect Draft Daily, it was Robzilla 346 and the Griffin Brawlers taking home first place with 119 points. And Mr. Audit and the Mediocres winning in the Perfect Draft Weekly last week with 66 points. By the way, I finished in like the 20s or so. I am so happy about that. So there you go. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of This Week in Perfect Team. This has been a fun time. Some great cards being released today. Had fun, and I will see you on Saturday for the Perfect Team Master Series. It's going to be a fun time. Have a great day, everybody. DishNet34 signing out. Have a fantastic rest of your day.